Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show. My name is Leon Jones, and this evening I'm going to get right back into the scam series as I've been doing for the past 5 months. And it's going to continue because I have another scam for you. And I've been through it myself, and I'm going to talk about how to spot debt collection scams. How to spot debt collection scams. And believe it or not, first and foremost, I know a number of guys out there are paying child support. I'm going to say this: child support is also a scam because the family court system is nothing more than a collection agency that is basically there to take money from you to enhance the state. The state gets a nice incentive to collect money. Child support has nothing to do with the children, but you have a number of individuals who think the system is going to enhance their lives. It is not. You think of child support like this, and this video is not about child support, but it's an example of what these debt collectors are doing. Now, we are not a debtor's prison, but child support, depending on what state you live in, can take up to 55% of your pay if you are in arrears. And you can go to jail, which I don't understand why you can go to jail for child support, but you don't go to jail for a credit card. But they're both debts. Now, with all that being said, I'm going to move over to debts because you have to watch yourself with debts. And sometimes when it comes to debt collection, you have to make sure that number one, that debt is your debt. A lot of these debt collectors out here are fly by night debt collectors. They're trying to make as much money as they can. And you have law firms, especially Levi and Associates. They're representing Calvary SPV. Calvary SPV is a large and is a legitimate collection agency. But Levi and Associates, and there's some bad critters. Going through them myself. And what Levi and Associates will do, if you're not paying attention, they're actually a law firm. They're posing as a debt collection agency. Well, you can have settlements, but if you don't pay that settlement in time, what they're going to do, they're going to basically add interest to that debt, which is totally illegal because the contract should specify that if you don't pay within a certain time, we're going to add interest. Well, what happens when you deal with somebody like a Levi and Associates, they're going to pay money, pay money, pay money, and they don't even send you any receipts that you've paid money on a balance owed. Sometimes you're paying more than what the actual debt is. Now, they're not the only ones. You have Crown out there, Trident out there, and a number of these debt collectors, so you'll know, they will take a credit card like a Citibank or Discover, while Citibank and Discover charges that debt off. Well, they're going to write that debt off as bad debt on their taxes anyway. What happens when that debt is written off? Now, it still doesn't mean that you should not pay the debt because it's going to affect your credit. And also, when it comes to debt collection, depending on your state, if you want to get out of paying a debt, you have to, number one, utilize the statute of limitations. Now, I know here in Indiana, the statute of limitations is 6 years for credit card debt. Pennsylvania is 3 years. Ohio is 4 years. Now, what these debt collectors try to do, particularly the ones that are lawyers posing as debt collectors, they want to file a judgment against you. And what happens when they file judgments against you, you end up, number one, this is what child support does too. You don't pay child support on time, child support will go right into your bank account. Yes. Well, the debt collectors try to do the same thing. Now, the debt collectors can garnish up to 25% of your wages. Now, one thing that these lawyers won't tell you when they go through the courts to try to garnish your wages, it's going to take you up to take them up to 4 months. So this is why you should get a lawyer, because I'm going through that right now. You should get a lawyer to help you fight the case, because a lot of times these debt collectors don't even present the right documentation. And ways you can get documentation, especially if you're paying online, get your bank statements, write everything out on an index card. Now, when I say the date, write the date that if you're using electronic checks or debit cards, use that date that it actually cleared. Why? Because that debt collector took the money. Now, what some of them want to do is they want to continue to make you pay, and pay, but they forget that you are already paying, and that money that you paid, it just doesn't go away. You're paying down the debt. Now, you have a lot of scams going on when it comes to individuals not knowing what to do. Again, comes to debt collection, things except for child support, statute of limitations. Make sure you have your proper documentation. Even go through your bank statements, add up the numbers, because these lawyers, and I'm not knocking everybody in the law field, but I think a lot of lawyers are scum. They are. Whether they're politicians, they're out to make a quick buck. They don't care about you. They negotiate. They don't try to clear anything up for you. And I just believe that many of us, when it comes to debts or any type of other situation, we need to get the Black's Law Dictionary and start practicing our own law. Now, I know you hear some lawyers tell you, don't go into court per se. That's PERSE, which means by yourself in Latin. Understanding the terminology. The bottom line is, if you keep good records for yourself when it comes to debts, you can have the best lawyers out there. Numbers don't lie. Let me get into some more information for you. And how to spot debt collection agencies, how to spot debt collection agency scams. Now, you need to understand that these are the major signs. And I'll leave this link at the bottom of my videos as well, because a lot of people, they're going through a lot of strain and pain with money, and you get debt collectors calling you day after day. They're trying to threaten your credit. And some of these debt collectors, what they do is, not only do they buy debts pennies on a dollar from the company that wrote the debt off, like a Citibank or medical bill. A lot of these debt collection agencies change hands. So on your credit report, you may see 3 debts, let's say for $100. Well, it's the same debt. What happens is the debt collector that sold your debt to somebody else or changed names, they didn't take that off your credit report. So it looks like you have 3 different debts. Now, when we deal with debt collectors, here's some key takeaways. Some debt collectors prey on consumers to steal their personal information and hard-earned money. That is the truth. Now, you could be dealing with a scam if a debt collector pressures you, issues threats, withholds their information on request, payment, or they request the payment before you confirm that you actually owe the debt. That happened to me with one debt collector. They tried to tell me I got a payday loan in Pennsylvania. I said, well, Pennsylvania doesn't allow payday loans. Well, you can get it online. No, you can't get it online because it's going to prompt and tell you this state does not do payday loans. Person tried to argue with me. Didn't work because a lot of these debt collectors, because I work for a debt collector, you get a base salary and you get commission based on the amount of money that you collect. So, what you can do is protect yourself from debt collection scams by reaching out to your creditor directly. Now, some creditors will tell you, well, we don't own the debt anymore, which is total BS. You can still go to them to pay that debt off. Now, if they tell you you can't, well, try to contact the debt collection agency yourself. And if you're not getting any help from the debt collection agency, get yourself involved with a lawyer. A good lawyer will do the legwork for you, but always make sure you have your ducks in a row. Now, again, you can protect yourself from debt collection scams by reaching out to your creditor directly, reviewing your credit report, and securing your financial information. And you have to know your rights. And if you spot a debt collection scam, contact your state's attorney general's office and file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They're government agencies and they will look into it. Now, if you receive a call recently or text or written correspondence from a debt collector, it could be a scam according to the Federal Trade Commission because over 116,000 debt collection reports were received in 2022, with almost 50% of these reports relating to abusive debt collection activity or debt not owed by the consumer. Now, debt collectors are not supposed to harass you. They're not supposed to threaten to arrest you. We're not a debtor's prison. If they do, you hang up on them. Get yourself a lawyer. Also, write us if you don't believe the debt is yours and they keep contacting you, log the calls. Give them a cease and desist letter. It's a cease and desist letter. And if they don't abide by that cease and desist letter, attorney, or you can sue them for harassing you. There's a schedule where they can call you from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Now, I will say this though, not all debt collectors are scammers. However, it is still important for you to look out for all the red flags to protect your finances and prevent your personal information from being compromised and used by fraudsters. Now, here are 6 ways you can spot debt collection scams. Now, of course, getting a call or a letter from a company who claims to be a debt collector, it's going to raise some eyebrows. However, be cognizant before you give out information because you have to consider these 6 signs of a scam. Number 1, they pressure you. Now, a credit collection scam might use scare tactics and threats to create a sense of urgency in hopes that you're going to act quickly. Now, the scammer might also use the emotional card, making you feel bad or an irresponsible person. But that tactic is actually illegal. Now, you have the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, known as the FDCPA. They expressly prohibit debt collector contact and conduct. Let's use the word conduct. The FDCPA prohibits any unprofessional debt collector conduct, including repeated phone calls, meant to harass, oppress, or abuse you to collect on a debt, regardless of whether you owe the debt or not. Debt collectors cannot threaten you with jail time. Again, I said this is not a debtor's prison, right? So you're not going to get any jail time. And I think child support should be included in that because, like I said, the family court system is nothing more than a big collection agency. They operate the same way. A lot of these debt collectors, it's extortion. A lot of these lawyers who are posing as they are the debt collection agency. No, you are collecting or representing the debt collector. Like Calvary is a very big debt collector. Now, again, debt collectors can't threaten you with any jail time, any bodily harm, any arrest, or they can't use any profanity. And should they call your home or place of employment, unless you tell them to stop, it can only be done from the hours of 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., and that's in your time zone. Now, when it comes to debt collectors, you do have some legitimate ones. Like I used to work for one off of Security Boulevard in Baltimore, and they were very, very aggressive. Why were they aggressive? Because they have a job to do as well, and they made money from a base salary. I believe the base salary then in 1999 was $12.50 an hour plus commission because they have to live too. Now, the legitimate ones can sometimes be aggressive, but scammers, they often use fear to get you to act quickly and not to ask questions. I will tell you this, if they are threatening you with any jail time, that's a violation of your rights. Get an attorney, cease and desist letter. And they don't follow your cease and desist letter, take them to court. Like Judge Wapner used to say, can't resolve it personally, take them to court. Number two, they won't give you their contact information. Now, I've always asked them, well, are you licensed to do business in the state? Sometimes they won't give you that information, but they want me to give them my information. So if they don't give you their name, their badge number, simply write down the name of the company, contact a law office, contact the FTC, file a complaint, consumer protection, because again, real debt collectors who are reputable, they have websites and reviews, and you can contact them if necessary. Now, ask the caller for the debt collector's company name, address, and phone number. If a scammer is on the other end, they might try to avoid your questions and insist that the debt needs to be resolved. Now, if they refuse to disclose their identity and company information, that should tell you right there, it's not a legitimate collection company and they're looking to scam you. Number three, what if the debt isn't yours? If the supposed debt collector is trying to strong arm you into paying a debt that you don't recognize, might have a scammer on your hands, you can ask the debt collector for the creditor's name and the amount you owe. By law, they must provide that information to you. Also, get one free credit report a year. One free, annualcreditreport.com. A lot of people think you have to pay this outrageous money to get a credit report. No, you don't. Call Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, or write them a letter if something is wrong. Now, Lexington Law, they can also, and Lexington Law is pretty reputable. They are lawyers, and they can help with the disputes by getting some of that BS that you don't think should be on your credit report off of your credit report. They have worked on mine. It's raised my credit score. I remember one time I was in the 400s. I'm up right at 700. Yes, we all have to pay our bills. However, sometimes We get into rough times, we lose a job. We have other bills we have to pay for. We're not making enough. We're working many hours. We have families. Debt collectors don't care. I don't care too much about debt collectors either. That's why any of these law firms, I'm gonna beat up on them all day. I'm gonna try to put them out of business. And I hope there are other individuals who believe the same thing I believe. We can get them out of business. People who are on the scam side of YouTube, because, like I said, going back to your credit report, it's very important that you check your credit report for accounts to see if it shows which debt collection agencies your defaulted accounts have gone to. And reach out to the original lender or creditor to see if your debt has been sold off. And if so, where has your debt been sold to? Because again, some of these collection agencies, they shut down or they sell their debts to someone else. And you have to make sure that the debt companies are sending you the information. You could have a debt that you never heard of, but they send it to the wrong address. Or if you lived in another address, they could be sending it to your old address. Well, light bulbs should come on. That mail is going to bounce back because you don't live at that address any longer. Now, this is one you didn't receive a letter in the mail. Again, if you owe a debt, you're going to receive documentation in the mail. So, if your debt has gone to a debt collector, you should receive formal written notifications in the mail. If you're contacted by someone who you suspect is a scammer, ask them for verification of the debt, like a reference number. This is a letter that all debt collectors must send within 5 days of first contact with the consumer. Now, you look at the letter, look at it closely, because there's a format that the letter is written. And a letter from a collection agency should disclose the debt amount in question, the creditor who is owed the debt, and a disclosure statement. The consumer has 30 days to dispute the debt. Any debt can be disputed. When you do receive such letters, do not throw them away, file them away. You can refer to them should a scammer try to contact you. Now, this is what I love about the scam series because this is what always happens, no matter what type of scam it is. Gift cards, but besides gift cards, you may be asked to pay by prepaid card or money transfer. So here's the thing that scammers do. They almost always prefer non-reversible payment. Why? Because they cannot get it tracked or cash. Think of prepaid card, money order, or money transfer. Again, just like I mentioned, these forms of payment cannot be traced, and scammers take off with your money with a very slim chance of getting caught. Be alert. If they ask for payment methods that seem out of the norm, turn that light bulb on. Don't give up your money. If you go to pay a legitimate debt collector, pay in a way that you can use to verify that you have paid and the amount you paid. Like go online. If they give you a confirmation number or check your bank statement out, make sure that the amount clears because when it clears, that means they've received the money. Also, they threaten to tell your coworkers, friends, and employers about your debt. Totally illegal. That's almost slander. By law, debt collection agencies are not allowed to share any details about your debt with most people. For example, they can't threaten to collect payment from your parents to coerce you into making an immediate payment. That's bribery. And any suggestion they might tell your employer or family members that you have a debt to pay, it's illegal. Federal law only allows them to inquire about your whereabouts. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back. I'm going to show you some videos on people who have gotten scammed. Now, check this video out because you're going to learn something. Because, again, debt collector scams a victim in the pen, and you're going to actually see how it's done. Fair use. This is used for educational purposes only.
Yes. Again, my name is Investigator Sharon Wright. I am investigating a criminal complaint that has been forwarded here in the office against you by Cash Express. We are in the process of proceeding against you legally. Now, prior to forwarding this to your local authorities and returning them issuing a warrant for your arrest, I did want to contact you, get a statement, and find out exactly what were your intentions.
But what is this? I'm not understanding. What is this?
Cash Express is stating that you did walk into their facility to obtain a payday loan. You did give them your personal checking information along with a date as to when they can extract the funds to be paid back for the loan. Once they went to receive the funds were not available. Now, they did make several attempts in trying to contact you to rectify it. They sent you to 3 different collection agencies. They also made the attempts in trying to rectify it, received no resolution. So they did transfer your file to my office, asking that we go ahead and proceed legally. Now, prior to forwarding it, like I say, to your local authorities, we did want to contact you, get a statement, find out exactly what was going on, and what are your intentions on trying to rectify it now that you are aware of the issue here.
Okay, so rectify means what?
Well, I mean, of course, to hold it from going legal, you know they want the money.
Okay.
However, you have
what amount is this?
You have a balance of $819.04.
Okay, at this moment right now, I'm not working.
Okay. Well, see, with that being said, I will have no choice but to forward it to Los Angeles County. However, Los Angeles County will issue you with a warrant for your arrest. It will be for depository check fraud as well as theft by deceit.
That I can do?
They're willing to set you up on a payment arrangement. However, they require.
Let me stop you right there. Now, this is already throwing up a red flag. They're not allowed to pose as any law enforcement officer. Now, you hear this lady. She's not working. Now, the caller didn't ask one pertinent question. Well, how do you know the debt is mine? You got to ask that question. You don't give up any money unless you know if the debt is yours. She didn't ask the person who's impersonating law enforcement, well, what's the reference number? How come I didn't get any documentation? How old is the debt? You got to ask these questions. Fair use. Let's continue.
Require that you come up with a down payment of at least half of your balance, and then what we'll do is make an arrangement with you on the remaining portion of the balance. However, that will go ahead and get it put on hold. It will avoid all legal actions from being pursued.
Okay, so let me do that then, because I don't want none of the. Because right now I'm actually pregnant, so I can't be going through stuff like this.
Right. Hold for one moment.
And I'm actually 8 months. I turn 8 months next week. So
hold for one moment. Let me talk with the attorney, okay?
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead. Grab your checking information, and you let me know when you're ready. I'm going to have them send you out a letter. Once you receive that letter, you have 2 hours to contact me back. If I do not hear from you within those 2 hours, at that time I will take it as a refusal to rectify on a voluntarily basis. I will go ahead and sign off on it. The attorney will go ahead and at that time forward it to Los Angeles County for a warrant to be issued for your arrest.
I'm not trying to say that I'm not going to pay it.
Don't sign off on anything. Let it go to Los Angeles County. Again, you cannot be arrested for not paying a debt. And what this person is trying to do, this is exactly what I said, trying to pressure that individual into paying. I would say, okay, I'd probably just toy with him and get him to hang up on me. I love to toy with him because these individuals aren't that bright anyway, because they think they got all the power. This is my money. I'm gonna have to give them the bird, something. But in the end, don't let them pressure you. Hang up. You don't like what's going on? And then she didn't ask that person who was calling her the name and what's your position. Gotta ask them that. And where you calling from. This is exactly what I was saying. That's why I play the videos when I have a discussion, because I want you to actually see and feel the experience that's going on of being in that position when you're put on a spot. Put them on a hot seat. Fair use. Let's continue.
I'm gonna pay. I
Ma'am,
want
I
to know
know.
that I'm gonna do this correctly because I don't want it to backfire on me and then you come and tell me another thing.
Ma'am,
So,
it's debit, credit, or check, whichever way works best for you.
okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
And good luck to you.
The bottom line, that lady was going to do it. That lady was going to do it because she didn't know. Anybody out there who wants to know about these scams, start watching a 411 Talk Zone radio show. I can tell you how to get it done. Let's go to some police busting a debt collection scam. This was 11 years ago, and this is going to be funny. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
Orlando police have just busted a big debt collection agency in the city accused of trying to fraudulently collect debts all across the state.
And police say some of those debts they tried to collect didn't even exist. Police began loading up boxes of evidence this morning at Vanderbilt and Associates on McGuire Boulevard. West 2's Michelle Meredith is at the Orlando Police Department right now. And Michelle, have cops made any arrests in this case?
Well, police just escorted one person who was arrested during the bust to jail. He's Rex Serio, an employee whose involvement in the scam is not known. He was arrested on drug charges. Police say he had 14 pills of morphine sulfate. Orlando police spent the morning loading up evidence, computers, boxes from an office building near Fashion Square Mall. Police, along with the Attorney General's office, shut the company down because they say the company was operating a debt collection scam, had employees calling victims to collect money for debts that either did not exist or the company had no legal right to collect.
They would find people who they believed had outstanding debts using various methods. That's part of the investigation. Within those methods, once they found those people that owed debts, then they would pretend that they were the debt collectors in those cases and obtain the monies from those victims.
Police say the tip came from the Office of Financial Regulation. A consumer filed a complaint against the company in July of last year. Police say employees in room 350 posed as attorneys, processors, and threatened law enforcement action if people did not pay.
They are debt collectors, that they're going to take their homes, they're going to take everything they own, type of thing. So these victims were terrified.
Curious and stunned employees from the building next door took this picture of one arrest through their office window. Police tell us the arrest is drug-related at this point. What is your role in this? The owner of the company says he did nothing wrong, that people who owed money filed false reports. Not clear how many victims are involved. The company operated under two names, Vanderbilt and Associates and Buchanan Capital Management. If these names sound familiar to you, call Orlando Police. Live in Orange County, Michelle Meredith, West 2 News.
All right, let me show you one on how to recognize scams from debt collectors. Fair use, fair use.
Hey everybody, my name's Jake. I'm one of the attorneys here at Denman Perlman. I actually run our new consumer protection department. And I'm here today to talk to you about some of the most I guess, blatant things that bill collectors do that violate the law when they're trying to collect a debt. Now, everybody knows right now there's a big problem with scammers and robocalls and people trying to get your money by lying to you, right? But those scammers, those robocallers, they're taking a page out of a book that was written by bill collectors a long, long time ago. And that book resulted in some really good protections that the law has to protect consumers like you from illegal practices by bill collectors. And I want to talk about the 4 most common things to look out for when somebody's trying to collect a debt from you. So number 1 is time. Now that seems pretty obvious, right? But there's a couple facets of this. Number 1, what time of day is the bill collector calling you? If they're calling you before 8 o'clock in the morning, that's a violation of the law. If they're calling you after 9 p.m. at night, that's a violation of the law. If anything like that ever happens to you, you're entitled to relief under Florida's consumer protection laws. And not just what time of day they're calling you, but how often they're calling you is also important. Because if they're calling you so often that the courts think it's harassment, that's a violation too. And again, you're entitled to recover under Florida law. So keep track of how often and what time these people are calling you. The second thing to look out for is language. What are these people saying to you when they're calling trying to collect a debt? Are they threatening you? Are they using abusive language or calling you names or being profane in some way? One of the things that I've noticed in my experience is that a lot of times bill collectors will refer to people as deadbeats. Pay your bills, you deadbeat, or you scumbag. That type of language is not okay under Florida law. If anybody uses that language towards you, they're violating the law. And hopefully you would never see a bill collector from a reputable company using threats of violence against you or your family or anything like that. But sometimes these companies aren't reputable. And every once in a while, these people will act like they're a loan shark on the street trying to collect money. So if somebody threatens you in one way or another, that's not okay. The third thing I want you to look out for is lies. And that's something that is common in this industry, so common that it had to be written into law to tell them that they can't lie to you. They can't try to collect a debt that's not real. That's a scam, and not only robocallers are using that, bill collectors are too. They can also not lie to you about who they are. They can't say that they're the police. We've all had that robocall. This is a call from the IRS, right? Everybody's heard that scam. But as it turns out, bill collectors use that same scam. They pretend to be from the IRS. They pretend to be from the police and say that they have a warrant out for you. If they're doing that, that's illegal. They're also not allowed to pretend to be lawyers if they don't have any contact with them. So if you receive a bill that says it's from a law firm and it's not, call me. I'm here to help. The last thing that you should look out for, and the most common issue that you have with bill collectors, is shame. They will try to shame you in ways that is just unbelievable. They'll say that they're going to call your boss, or maybe they do call your work. Maybe they call a neighbor or a friend or somebody who has no right to know what's going on with your financial situation. Sometimes these people will go so far as to say that they're going to out you to the public. They're going to list your name on some kind of sheet somewhere and say that you're a deadbeat who won't pay your bills. Those are all violations of Florida law. And under Florida law, if they violate these statutes, you're entitled to compensation, statutory compensation of up to $1,000 and all attorney's fees that you accrue in the case. So if you have any concern that somebody is violating one of these laws, you should reach out to a lawyer. You should reach out to Denman Perlman. Now, these are not all inclusive. These are not the only ways that bill collectors violate people. They come up with new tricks and techniques all the time. So if something happens to you and you feel like it's just not okay, even if it doesn't fit under one of these categories, call me today. I'm here to help.
Straight truth. You heard it from a lawyer himself. Now, again, he is speaking the same way I'm speaking. Now, I will tell you what a lot of us need to do is go out and get a Black's Law Dictionary, because lawyers love to use fancy tricks in court too, because they're representing some of these debt collectors and they want to get paid because it's all about money. You know, I did a video a month ago about, is America a dream or a scheme? Now, that's a very subjective question because, you know, I talk to capitalism. And before I go on, shout out to Brother Guy King. He's got a good book out. Get my brother's book. He talks about relationships. He talks about being red pill. Some of the things in that book, he speaks the truth. Calls himself Professor Truth. Get his book, Brother Guy King. And Brother Guy King, I'm shouting you out. Been a good friend of mine since 2017. Keep up the good work. Philosopher Stone, that's what he calls himself. Correction, Philosopher Stone. Check his book out if you're into what's going on in the real world. Because I'm interested in what's going on in the real world, these scams. And debt collectors, they're no different. And, you know, I will tell you, a lot of these debt collectors, and again, I worked at one myself, and you should, if you're behind the scenes like I was, a lot of these individuals are they were very, very, very pushy, trying to get people to pay debts. Now, and they do shame, because I had one that tried to shame me. You know what? Statute of limitations on it. Had somebody call me, it was maybe a couple years ago, 2 to 3 years ago, for a debt that was back in 2006. And I simply laughed at him. I said, yeah, you can't sue. You can make an attempt to collect. It's for a check I wrote. And I believe I paid that check anyway, but they said that check was with them for $268. I blew that smoke. I gave them that smoke. They were coming after me. They weren't getting that money. Why? Statute of limitations. And at that time, it was here in Indiana. So the statute of limitations here in Indiana, 6 years. Although it occurred in Pennsylvania, if I looked at the Pennsylvania statute of limitations and the Indiana statute of limitations, they're done. They cannot sue. They can make an attempt. And this is what people don't understand about debt collectors. And just like I said, if you really don't know what's going on, reach out to an attorney and get one so you'll know. Because if you see attorneys, they do what they call commercial collections. Don't go with that attorney. That attorney is basically working for the debt collector. Get one that's working on what we call debt defense. That's for the person who actually owes the debt. Because that attorney, a good attorney, is going to reach out to the other side and request information. And they have to give you that information. Because, you know, one thing that I will tell you about debt collection is that a number of them, they do not deal with the right documentation. Documentation is key because they're going to tell you you didn't make a payment, although you did. And if you don't have the receipts from the debt collector, because I know some of these payments are online, they want you to print them out, use your bank statements, that date and that transaction that was made. Because in the end, it's your money. And you have a number of individuals who are trying to get it. And as you saw previously, a debt collection company that didn't make it. And there are going to be more of them out there. Because I just hope it's not just me. I hope there's some other people out here ready to put them out of business. Because in the end, you try to take my money, I'm going to try to take your money. But I'm going to do it the legal way. And you'll find out what it is to be in debt when you got no job or you're in jail. keep scamming people. Because karma is a bitch. Gonna come hit you too. All you lawyers out there who think they can take advantage of people, all you debt collectors out there, your time's coming. I realize there are people who don't pay bills, but you got people who do pay bills. The ones who don't pay bills, by all means, go after them as much as you can. But the ones who are making a good faith effort, help them out a little bit. Don't raise the debt so high with interest, illegal interest, so they'll be paying through the nose and you're taking 25% of their check for the rest of their lives. Because money is tight. Not a lot of it with inflation going on out here. No, debt collection is a business. But if you're going to be in debt collection, you better understand the law. Because guess why? Guess what? You're not above the law. Because in the end, your company will go down in flames for trying to be a scammer. And what do I say when you come to this channel? You will be scammed by the Scam Pro. And that's me. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 401 Talk Zone radio show. If you like what I just presented, comment, share, and subscribe. And check out my second channel, which I'll be doing a video tomorrow. Try to do videos on Wednesday and Thursday. Tomorrow will be the QCIS channel. On that channel, I give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, once I record all of my videos from YouTube, same videos, posted on to my Twitter channel. Now, since the QCIS channel is an educational channel, you can also find QCIS channel on my LinkedIn page. And in the end, be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. Once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful, gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.